Hello, welcome to our last session of the control rig. We're now ready, almost ready actually, to publish this rig for the first pass of the animation, and then we're going to start creating the actual deformations and, focusing on the final high-res mesh. But let's wrap this part up. Before we move on, there is one thing I want to mention. So we did create constraints on the neck control group. We have a orient constraint and point constraint, and the idea was this: when we rotate the character's torso, we know that the neck follows it, and we don't want the animator, especially on a walk or something, to counter animate the neck back to original position all the time. So we're going to give the animator a choice to get the neck to follow the torso and not to follow the torso. So we're going to select the neck control itself, edit, add attribute, follow. You can even have multiple constraints, even if you wanted to follow, I don't know, just the shoulder or other things, and so on and so forth. Follow torso, orient. Actually, we could say follow torso, on and off. That's it. And then add. So we've got this one. And we need the orient constraints to do that. So we're going to select the neck control. We're going to go to key, set driven key, set. And we're going to bring the orient constraint that we applied to the group in the early parts of this tutorial series. That's the driven, sorry. And the neck control is the driver. And we're going to click on the follow. And we're going to click on the attribute of the constraint, which is this one. So do we want this to follow the spine or not? Or in other words, the torso or not? So once it's selected, when the follow is set to on, we want it to be on key. When the follow is set to off, we want this guy to be 0, and we key it. So now let's check it. So now it's not following the torso, as you can see. So when we do that, as you can see, it's targeting. Okay, so right now we're going to set it to if I set it to on, okay, especially during a walk, it should be set to off, so that we can easily start doing our walk cycles. Okay, so there's that. So the next thing to do, just before we publish this, because we have used the FK spines and FK hands joints to the same joints to drive the mesh as well, and they still have the joint names JX, but we need those joints obviously to drive the mesh. So it's better to actually create a selection set. So when we actually select those joints, rather than going in and manually trying to find where those joints are, because we have to go and manually pick all the joints that we're going to use to deform the mesh. Rather than doing that, if you named all the joints correctly, as I did, the spine, JX, and the end joints with just JNTs and so on and so forth, that means we know which joints are driving our mesh up to this point. So what we need to do, we need to go to and just expand one of these arrows here until we find this tool. with a cursor icon, select by name. If you can't see it, you just have to keep expanding it like this. This is collapsed, this is expanded. And we're going to use a wildcard, so I'm going to hold on to Shift 8, which will give me the star icon, underscore JX. It's a case sensitive thing, so make sure the joints are named properly, and I'm going to click that one. And what it's doing basically is selecting the joints that are going to drive the mesh. Just because everything else is selected, I don't want you to feel confused. It's because you might think that it's selecting everything, but it's actually it's only selecting the JX joints. You can see when I press the F key, it only brings them up. Now, there are things that, for example, I forgot to clean up the names here. For example, we've got the JXs, like the elbow ones that we need. The trouble is they also have suffixes coming in. I should have just put the JX at the end of it. That's a misnomer. I should have changed that, but it's okay. I'll go back to those because they have got two double hyphens, one in there, one in there. So anyway, let's go back. Shift 8 underscore JX. We select those, and we go to create sets, quick select set. We're going to call these bind JX joints and click OK. What it's doing basically, it means we'll be able to, when we need these to drive the mesh, rather than manually selecting them all, we can just click on this guy. We can just do select set members, or we can just manually click on one, shift click on the others, and we've got that. And every time we add a new JX button, or sorry, JX joints, we can add to this set with that in mind, because we know that these guys that we need, the JX is the one that needs to have JX at the end. We need to add those as well. So let me just double check. So these are fine. Let me click on it. Yeah, they are in the list. So anything that ends with underscore JX, they're on the list, but these guys aren't. I think it's my fault. What I could do then, for those, I could go to star underscore JX underscore, press enter. It looks like, let me just see. That's that one. Okay, let me just go back to it. Alright, so we're struggling with that. Let me just find the proper name. I'm gonna grab a copy of this, go to my notepad to see what this is. Okay, so it looks like it doesn't pick that up. I can't see why it doesn't do it. Maybe I could do JX and then do an underscore at the end of it. Again, it doesn't like that. No, it doesn't like it. So what I'm going to do, because there aren't many, I'm just going to select these guys manually. 1, 2, 3. All these segmented joints. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to right click on my bind JX joints and go to sets, add selection set to bind JX joint. So those are added as well. Let me go select set members. Yeah, they're all picked. I can verify it by clicking on them. Yeah, these guys are there. That's it. If we realize that there are some that are missed out, we can later add to the list as well. But the point I'm trying to make is this: once we change the name of these controls, if you were to, after the animation, if you were to update the rig and change the names, the person who is animating will lose the animation on these controls. So once we decided in the first publish on the control names, that should be it. With that in mind, I'm going to select these guys. I'm going to just select the first one with the hand. I'm going to go to modify, search and replace JX on these ones because they're controls with CTRL, and let's apply. But here we go. Yeah, same with these guys. I'll select the first control and apply. Yeah, and the same with these guys. So these are the finger controls, not the joint. So we change the names. With these guys, I'm just gonna, on this one, I'm gonna click on selected. I don't want it to affect the hierarchy. Click apply. So that's it. These are called controls now. Pelvis CTRL. That's it. And these guys, let me just see. Yeah, they're controls. Modify, search and replace, selected, replace JX with control. Okay, that's it. And then I'm going to switch to FK. Select these guys and these. Modify, search and replace, click apply. And that's it. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to go to polygons. Just make sure everything is closed. I'm going to go to show, none, show polygons. And don't forget, because the original rig mesh that we are yet to deform is hidden, these are all the segmented meshes, you know, the meshes that we've added to the joints. I'm going to select all of those and I'm going to create a layer for them. Segmented mesh layer, and we can verify it. Okay, and then show none, show joints. Show none, show curves, and we're going to select them all. Controls, layer. Okay, because most of our controls are kind of FK controls. We could individually put them in there, or we could just put the joints in there, but this works. The next thing we're going to do, I'm gonna create a joint, sorry, layers called skeleton layer. I'll right click, go to select hierarchy, and then right click, add selected objects there. Okay, in a way, because some of the stuff is FK, it's not great, but let me just select these two. I'll add these guys. Okay. I'll select the root joint. Okay. Yeah, in an FK situation, those joints that are FK without any IK or it's difficult because most of it is controlled by these guys. So anyway, we've got them all, at least the way we wanted to. This one, let me just turn these off. Show polygons. This is the original mesh. Let me just verify it. Yeah. So the original mesh is referenced and we hide it. Segmented mesh. I think because we've added them to the joints, they are part of the skeleton or they're part of the controls. Here we go. Yeah. So now we're going to save these as well. Just save our scene as is. And what we're going to do, we're going to select our leg control. We're going to make them the child of the controls group. Brilliant. And then we're going to test our rig. Move it about. Scale it down. Nothing pops. Everybody scales together. Save it again. Excellent. Don't leave any rubbish or anything. Okay. Segmented mesh is referenced. I think it's this one. Brilliant. So we'll save this guy again. I just want to be sure. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to clean up some of the attributes. So for example, we don't want the pelvis to have this. We only want it to rotate. We're going to select the translate, scale, and then hold on to the right mouse button, lock and hide selected. That's it. We want the main control, scale, lock and hide selected. For now, I'll leave the visibility on. And the same with these guys. Unless you need translation, primarily you wouldn't need it because it's an FK spine. Lock and hide selected. Lock and hide selected. Okay. So these guys, these are the clavicle controls. They already got translation values because we used an FK clavicle. You can choose to leave some of the, if you like to be able to do this a bit, it's up to you, but it doesn't have an IK setup. So it's better to select it and then lock and hide the translation and lock and hide the scale. That's it. The neck, a neck control, and the head control, translation and scale, lock and hide selected. I forgot the radius. Okay, so these guys rotations is on. I'm gonna click on this IKFK. The FKs translate, scale, radius, lock and hide selected. Verify it. Okay. And then the hand controls. Sorry, the finger controls. No translate, no scale, no radius, lock and hide selected. Same with these guys. Deselect the rest. Translate, scale, radius, lock and hide selected. You don't want the animator to keyframe those, you want them only to keyframe what is seen there. So let's switch to IK. Controls. So we want to translate and rotate on IK, but no scale. Lock and hide selected. Brilliant. We want to elbow controls not to have any rotation or scale. Lock and hide selected, and their visibility can also be locked and hidden. And because I haven't done the other side, this is the trouble. I just realized I haven't completed this side. But it's okay, I'll do that and then publish it. Okay, and I need to do the follow attributes for these guys too. I've done it for the hands. But whilst we're at it, I'll just select those two, translate, scale, lock and hide selected. Visibility, I'll just lock it for now. Same with these guys, I'll just lock the visibility. So it's still on. If we need to tap into, we can unlock it, but yeah. Lock. With this guy, because we're going to scale it, we might need to scale it later on, depending on the size of the character. Sometimes you might want to fit into certain shots. It shouldn't happen, but you never know. And then we'll save it. Don't forget, I need to sort out that follow attributes on the on this guy. I forgot to do that. Potentially the follow on the foot as well, like we did with the knees and like we did with the hands. But anyway, now that we've got everything sorted, you're going to keep a copy for yourself, and then what you're going to do, you're going to save your scene as, so your file currently is an MA. It needs to be an MA file. This is for you. I made a mistake by saving as an MB. It's an MA file. So this is for the rigger to continue. That's your version at this stage. And then what you're going to do when you pass it on to the animator, you're going to untick the joint selection and untick the mesh selection. Let me just go and test this. That's it. Untick the joint, untick the mesh selection, so you don't want them to click on on a mesh. Right now it's not actually, you can see we can't click on the mesh, we can only click on the controls. Once those are done, everything else is here. Segmented joints, control layers and skeletons, it's fine. And then what you go to show none, show curves, and show polygons. So the animator can just select everything, and in this case the mesh is not selected, be aware of that, it's just the controls. The animator can select everything and key it. You know, they can do their walks and everything. So now your file is an MA. You've already saved your file. This is the one that you're going to publish. Save scene as, create a folder, published rigs, and they will grab this rig and then continue animating. And every time you publish your rig, you will save with the same name and pass that rig so that it can override the referenced rig, the ones that are referenced into animation shots. So in my case, I'm going to call this pirate rig. Save. Once the animators gets the rig and they start animating, you can't go back and change the names of the controls. You can, but saving the animation, transferring the animation and so on and so forth is a long-winded process. So it's better to be clean. So they've got a copy, you've got your MA version in a different file, which is, your one is that one. And then you can then continue building your rig. So the next stage will be deformations, and after that we'll do the facial rig. Good luck with your key animation, and thank you for watching. Thank you. My file is still loading. I think it's because of the references.